Hello, everybody. My name is Mort Sherman. I'm the Associate Executive Director here at ASA, and it's my pleasure, my honor, to welcome all of you to this SEL Summit. I'm very excited about welcoming over 200 people to be part of the conversation, to continue the kind of work that has been going on through ASA with the support of CCI and our other partners, which I'll introduce in a couple of minutes. But most importantly, beyond thanking Don Bridges, who is here with us as a leader of our cohort, our SEL cohort, Shelley Bourbon, who oversees all of our SEL work. Thank you, Shelley and Don, for your leadership. And Janet Robinson, who is a member and has been a member from the beginning of our SEL advisory group. Eric Gallion from Racine, Wisconsin, who's not able to be with us today, but has been with us from the beginning as one of our leaders. And Michael Rice, who's the Secretary of Education of Michigan, is also a member of our steering committee. Thank you all. And also Eliza Drummond. I would be really remiss if I didn't thank Eliza, the person behind the scenes who keeps everything moving. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you for joining us, for being part of SEL over the past couple of years, but most importantly for the work you've done the past year. You are frontline workers. You are the ones who, with professionalism, with care, with dedication, with vision, has served children through one of the most interesting, difficult, challenging times in our history. And yet you kept moving forward, recognizing that the work we do on behalf of America's children is not just children as whole learners. And you have been our leaders. You have been our inspiration. So in addition to thanking our leadership team, I wanted to thank all of you for your work, for your care, for making sure that we as a country put SEL and mental health and the general whole child health of all of our children at the forefront. And as part of that, what we've learned over the past year, and we'll be talking about it during the next day and a half or so, is looking not just at the children that we serve, but at you, your health, your support, what you need as leaders in the classroom, in schools, and in districts. Because if you're not taken care of as leaders, if you're not taken care of, then how could we expect you to turn around and take care of the millions of children that we represent here at ASA? So with that, I don't want to take time for the remarkable people that have stepped forward and become part of this effort. I want to introduce some of our partners who have been from the beginning extremely important to us. CZI, represented by Tyler Sussman, has been a major supporter, not Tyler, just as a representative of CZI, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, but as an individual. You're caring, you are just always pushing us to ask the questions like, what are the mindsets that leaders have when they go through implementation of SEL, one of the grants that you were instrumental in making sure that ASA receives. So CZI and Wright School and Lightspeed are all remarkable partners who have encouraged us and supported us. I wanted to thank them for their work. Tyler Sussman, if he could show you a picture out to the left side of the bus that he created over the past year and goes cross country, you'll get a sense of this remarkable person. We often think of major foundations like CZI and others as being this large, kind of a ubiquitous association. I want you to know that Tyler has personalized and created this support from CZI for us in a very direct, professional way. And it's been an honor working with you, Tyler, over the past couple of years. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Tyler Sussman from CZI.
Thank you so much, Mort. As Mort shared, my name is Tyler Sussman. I'm a program officer at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. And over the last 2 years, going on 3 years now, we have supported AASA's SEL cohort. And I first just want to thank Mort and Shelley and the entire AASA team for their leadership, both in the cohort and at the summit today. It's a pleasure to be here. The Chan Zuckerberg Initiative was founded in 2015 to solve some of society's toughest challenges, from eradicating disease and improving education to addressing the needs of local communities. And our mission is to build a more inclusive, just, equitable, and healthy future for all of children in the United States. The CZI education team specifically is working towards a country and a future where demographics like race and socioeconomic status are no longer predictive of student success, and every child is entering adulthood with the knowledge, skills, habits, and agency they need to reach their full potential. It's an education system grounded in racial equity that gives each student exactly what they need to be successful in school and to thrive beyond the classroom, and that meets the needs of the whole child. So in order to do this, there's a lot of changes necessary in the K-12 education system, from developing rigorous and inclusive learning experiences to expanding the definition of student success beyond academics to also include well-being and academic achievement, and really centering the voices of marginalized student populations and their caregivers in decisions around how the education system can help them flourish and thrive over time. Integrated practices and district policies supporting social and emotional wellness is a core part of this process, which has really been the foundation of our support for AASA's SEL cohort and why we continue to believe so strongly in this work. Over the course of the summit, I'll be here. I'm happy to interact. I'm happy to answer any questions around the CZI team. And then tomorrow, another grantee of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative Philanthropy, Gradient Learning, will be giving an overview of a new digital tool that they've introduced called the Along tool. That is a digital reflection tool, making it easier for teachers to check in one-on-one with students. The tool was funded by CZI and is provided as a no-cost resource to schools, really directly aligning with the SEL cohort activities. So in this time when it's more important than ever to support students and teachers and their important relationship in order to support a thriving social emotional state for kids in schools. We're trying to make sure that schools have resources necessary in order to implement these practices well. And that'll be tomorrow during the lunch break. I hope to see some of you there. And with that, thank you so much. I'll transition back to Morton, the AASA team.
Thank you, Tyler. And again, thank you for your ongoing support as an individual, as a person, and with an organization at CZI, the mission. If you don't mind, Tyler, one conversation that we had is like, what are the long-range goals of CZI and the strategic plan? And your answer just like blew me away. I think folks should hear just like when you talked about CZI, but I think it's interesting to put the work of the initiative in context.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work on long range time horizons. So there's an education initiative, there's a science initiative, and there's a justice and opportunity initiative. And each one of those philanthropic teams is grounded in 100-year goals. So the CZI education team's 100-year goal is really, and I started to mention it during my overview, but over this time period, it's essentially grounded in the concept that like demographics, race, socioeconomic status are no longer predictive of student outcomes. And every child is entering adulthood with the knowledge, skills, habits, and agency they need to reach their full potential. And if you can think from those longer range aspirations, they map back to 50 and 10-year goals. And a lot of those are not set in stone. We, as a philanthropic organization, we're really working to empower our grantees and try and make connections and partnerships with the right organizations around the country who are working to drive educational change and improve our systems for students of all races and backgrounds. And the work that AASA is leading is a strong part of that.
Thank you. And I'm just wondering, Shelley and Janet and other of us, Dawn, you've been an assistant, but we're going to our boards of education and we're saying, we have some ideas for you. It's a 100-year goal. I wonder how that would go for the community, but I love the fact that CZI is keeping its eye on the long term and it's not transactional. So thank you for that. Our next partner, Andy Lee from Wright School, has helped us also. And I like Andy, I don't think that you've heard me say this before, but I want you to know when we bring partners into any of our work at ASA, it's not sponsor. You'll never hear me use that term. It's a thought leader partner. We learn from you and appreciate when you come into the room to talk about your work so that our school districts, our leaders can in fact move ahead because of the work you do. So Andy, thank you. Would you say a few words of welcome?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mort. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Lynn, and I'm a partnership specialist at Wright at School. And we are so thrilled to sponsor this work and to participate today. If you don't know about Wright at School, we are a before and after school enrichment provider with the goal of delivering safe, engaging, meaningful, and most importantly, in my opinion, fun enrichment programs for school-age kids. Our collective mission is to inspire a love of learning with students, support schools, and give parents peace of mind. And like you, we are very passionate about what we do and our social emotional impact on students' lives. So we are excited to be here today. We thank you for the opportunity and enjoy the summit. I'm looking forward to it. And that's all I got, Mort.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
That was terrific, and we're so pleased that you're part of this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now to move on, because Dawn and Shelley, if they're in the room with me, they would like be poking me in the ribs and saying, it's time, let's get going. It's fun to hear from Tyler and from Mort and Andy, but we want to get to the meat of the agenda, to the true work. And so it is my honor truly to introduce Shelley Bourbon, who leads our SEL work across the board, but particularly the CCI initiative working with 6 districts, most of whom are joining us today and taking a deeper dive in implementation. And Dawn, who leads our cohort work. And if you want more information about joining our cohort as we move forward, Dawn Bridges is your contact. But when you look at that team, I sometimes say, why do I have to even be in the room when I know Dawn and Shelley are on top of everything? It's just really been great to work with both of you. So would you help guide us through what we can expect over the next 2 days?
Well, thank you, Mort, and thank you for the generous comments. We're very excited about this summit, and I want to welcome all who have joined us. I want to thank our partners, Wright at School, CZI, and Lightspeed as well, which you'll hear more about shortly. After our introductory activity, we have a little video from Lightspeed, and they've been a very supportive partner in the work as well. I think you all know that the goal of the summit is to help district teams activate their unique district visions for social emotional learning by developing and refining their implementation plans for the coming year. We meant this to be a very practical 2 days that combines presentations by experts in the field with sharing among districts and time for district teams to meet. So we hope that you will make full use of the sessions that we've scheduled. So that we can move forward smoothly as possible, let me provide you with some tips that'll enable you to get full value from this experience. First of all, the link that got you into the session will enable you to access all the plenary sessions. If you're participating in the Communities of Practice session, there's a separate link that we sent to you. Eliza Drummond, who is sort of in the back scenes, but has been critical to all of this work. And you've received emails from her. So the link is in that email, and you can join the Communities of Practice sessions at the times that those start. I'm sorry that it's necessary to move from one Zoom session to another. In a sense, we're switching from webinar mode to Zoom room mode, and it requires a separate link. Second, we've created a Padlet of resources for you. And Seth Graham, who's our technical support, will put that up, but we'll put the link in the chat for all of you. In the Padlet, you will find the revised agenda, which are some modest changes in the agenda. You'll also find lots of resources for each section, the program for the event, as well as some general resources that we have put in around SEL. For example, we've put in some materials from the National Commission that we think would be on social emotional academic development that we think would be helpful. And many of our presenters have added materials that they thought you would find of help. So please access that. You can download any of the materials that are there. They're publicly available. You can share them with others. Feel free to use the Padlet at your discretion. We have made some revisions in the agenda. One is that, as Tyler mentioned earlier, we've added a special lunch presentation tomorrow about a new free application called Along that'll help teachers build relationships with students. And you've heard a little bit about it. We encourage you to join for that lunch presentation. And that's in the revised agenda, and you'll have the link to that as well. We also, in the Padlet, put in a planning document that you can use with your district to plan around this initiative. You may have your own strategic planning tools, and you're welcome to use that. But we thought for those who would like to have a tool to use during the summit, we have put in the Padlet a tool that you can use. It's a PowerPoint you can download, and you can work with your teams on each of the areas of the strategic plan document. All the plenary sessions are being recorded and will be posted on the AASA SEL website so that you and others in your districts can come back and revisit them over the coming months. I would say if during the summit you have technical difficulties, you can use your raise hand feature in Zoom, and Seth Graham, who's our technical support, will attempt to help you. Or if you are having other struggles of getting in, you've received an email from Eliza Drummond, you can contact her via email, and she will try to provide some support. Be patient. We have, as I think Mort said, about 200 people participating in this. So hopefully very few will experience problems, but if you do, please let us know, and we'll try to provide the support that we can. Finally, as you're planning, we're going to ask you from your district to identify one person from your team who can present at the very end session of pulling it together session to talk about what your district's SEL targets are for the year and your implementation strategy. It'll be a short presentation, but we thought this is a very practical summit. It's a time when districts can plan and can work together across districts and within their district to refine their work, their vision, their strategies. And so what we hope you will do is use the planning tool or your own planning tool, and then select someone who can present during that time. So we're going to ask you to submit the name of that person by Wednesday at 1 p.m. That's Eastern time, or 10 p.m. Pacific time, so that we know and we can put that person up on the screen and share. So each district has a chance to share the work that they've done. So I'm going to pass this over to Dawn Bridges to talk a little bit about the different sessions that we have planned. Dawn?
Well, thank you. Again, excited to see everyone. This is a great opportunity. When Shelley and I started to kind of run with this, we sat down and talked about, what is systemic social emotional learning, and how can we work best to ensure that that's happening? And so in collaboration with Mort talking about creating the summit, we felt that as we planned this out, we wanted to put it into 3 buckets. First, around visioning. So again, we're going to focus this first session in visioning. We're going to have a great keynote speaker, and then obviously want opportunities for you to dive into community of practice with your Java-like categories. And so that's kind of the flow for each of our sessions. After that, we will focus specifically then around implementation. And so, what are the impediments? What are the things that have made things successful? And how can we really look to have more systemic implementation across all grades in each of our school districts. And then the last bucket session again, and there will also be team time for you to be able to work with your team. So kind of that gradual release of getting some whole group, working together with job alikes, and then going back and doing deep dives with your own teams. Again, as Shelley shared, there's a lot of information in that Padlet, and please take full opportunity. Those planning documents are exceptional, and hope that you will find them to be beneficial for yourself in your district. And then lastly, we're going to focus on progress monitoring and assessment, and having some key researchers around the country through each of these buckets of sessions, really spending time talking with you around what are the effective practices in assessing systemic social emotional learning. And so again, having that opportunity tomorrow to be able to have team time with what you've learned, community of practice, as well as district team time, to be able to come together and finally then come back to share out your next steps, which is meant to be, this entire summit is meant to be a great kickoff for the social emotional learning cohort that will start in the fall, and we'll do deeper dives as we kind of unpack what we've learned thus far. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Shelley.
So let me introduce this. We had to make a little bit of a change in our introductory activity, but I'm very excited to have 7 of our districts share their vision. Where we want to start is with vision. And I think that Linda Darling-Hammond is going to give us a sense of the importance of vision and her vision for SEL and for schools in general as we move forward. And so as a core element, what has been the vision of some of the districts that have taken initiatives? How do we share those? And this is our way of saying, here's some of the work that our districts have been doing and districts have been doing. And so I've asked each of these individuals to share a little bit about their vision and their strategy. And so we're going to put up some slides and begin by having each one of these individuals just talk a little bit about their district. So the first person I'm going to introduce is Lisa Zagas, who's Assistant Superintendent for Student Services in Naperville, Illinois. Lisa?
Thanks, Shelley, and thanks to AASA for letting us share. In Naperville 203, back in 2014, we had a steering committee get together. That steering committee consisted of educators, specialists, administrators from the district level and from the building level. And that committee really did a deep dive into learning about SEL and followed the lead of our Castle coach, Ruth Cross. At that point, we developed a vision for SEL, which is in Naperville 203, all students will utilize social, emotional, and academic skills in order to become resourceful and resilient lifelong learners. That has been the vision that has guided us to this day. And that core committee also developed 4 key belief statements. And really those belief statements has been the pillar for our work, kind of our North Star, you could say. So I won't read those to you, but know that those belief statements then have really led all of the work that we have done and that we continue to do in our district around SEL. On the next slide, you can see our image of what represents our timeline of where we are in our SEL implementation. So we created this meme. Obviously, Naperville is near Chicago, so we're Michael Jordan fans. We started our SEL work, like I said, back in 2014, and we had a commitment on our strategic plan to have a comprehensive SEL plan. That plan included building capacity of all staff. We did 4 years worth of professional learning for all staff in various modules. It included positive climate and culture, and so we did a lot of learning on positive climate and culture for all staff. It also included a comprehensive EC through 12 curriculum. So we have curriculum maps for social emotional learning, early childhood through grade 12 that identify what are the standards and skills we want kids to learn, what are the resources we're going to use for explicit instruction, where are we going to integrate into content. We also have developed rubrics for measuring SEL skills, and we report on students' acquisition of those skills on the report card. So we're obviously well implemented, or so we thought. And the other part of that meme was when we realized we're not fully implemented. We have 2 key things that we know we need to do moving forward. One really is to increase our focus on staff wellness and well-being, given the trauma of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for clear adult competencies in SEL. And the other is really to revise that curriculum to ensure a focus on equitable instruction and expectations based on CASEL's additional constructs that they've added.
Well, Lisa, thank you very much. The work in Naperville is inspiring. And so I know that it's been an influence to many others, and hopefully over time we'll be able to document some of that work and share it with others more broadly. So thank you for that introduction. Next is Angela Nichols, who's the SEL lead and professional learning specialist in Virginia Beach City, Virginia. And again, we're very excited, Angela, to have you here and to have you talk a little bit about the work that Virginia Beach is doing.
Thank you, Dr. Berman. So our vision for social emotional learning in Virginia Beach City Public Schools is that each day our students and adults learn about, develop, and openly practice their social emotional skills in a safe and equitable environment that prioritizes the well-being of individuals and the collective community. SEL has been an ongoing initiative in Virginia Beach. Our journey toward sustainable and effective SEL began almost 14 years ago. That foundation for our work began in 2007 with a focus on the growth and development of 21st century skills. During the development of our strategic framework in 2015, we returned to the foundational question: what are the skills and competencies necessary for our students to be successful in the world? And our stakeholder feedback indicated an importance in developing skills such as personal responsibility and resilience. This put us on the path of pursuing SEL more intentionally, and social emotional learning was named as a strategic action in our Compass to 2020. Over the next several years, you can see we just kind of began making our progress. We organizationally defined social and emotional learning. We have formed a social emotional learning implementation team. We fondly refer to the team as SELIT. And this team coordinates efforts to identify tactics to activate our goals and to evaluate progress toward those SEL goals. In the past 18 months, the leadership of SELIT has really worked to build the capacity of team members to think systematically about SEL implementation, to use data to support decision-making, and to apply an activation framework. Our goal is to design supports with students and with staff in ways that move SEL from awareness and understanding toward living key aspects of SEL so it becomes part of our daily culture in our schools and our offices. And 3 of our priority initiatives right now are the expansion of our Responsive Classroom Academy, expanding student identifiable SEL survey data. This year we'll be moving from offering that at 8 schools up to 25 schools, and working to more deeply integrate social emotional learning into our curriculum. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. And Virginia Beach, like Naperville, has just really launched and committed to this work, and it's very exciting to see all that you've done. I may be a little bit presumptuous in saying this, but I think that our cohort, we have a cohort of districts who are interested in this work, and I hope that those in attendance are part of that cohort or will join that cohort. But we actually are probably going to be doing some visits to these 2 districts. So it's very exciting in the future to have you here sharing your work. Next, I'm going to introduce Stacy Stout, who's an Assistant Superintendent in Wilson School District in West Lawn, Pennsylvania. We're very excited that you've joined and are sharing your work and your vision. So Stacy.
Thank you so much. And it frightens me that I'm following those 2 districts because we are very much in our infancy. And that is why actually I did join the cohort. This has been something as a teacher of 20 years, instructional coach, and then district leader in our district that has been close to my heart for a very long time. So as I said, coming off of a process that was a school improvement process, our data indicated that we really needed to pay a little bit more attention to aspects beyond the academics. And we have been a district known and been reputed for our solid academic programming. and the excellence that we achieve. And it became very clear that we needed to be thinking about a more holistic approach. And so we began thinking about a whole child education and became affiliated with a local group of folks that do professional learning on this notion of whole child, but more specifically, the social emotional aspects. And so when we went to our entire professional staff with this data and the information sharing part of what we were doing, we recognized that we needed to not only emphasize the continuation of the academic excellence that we have, but we needed to raise the bar in excellence with meeting the needs of the whole child, which included that social emotional piece. Putting those both together would create an exceptional education. So our journey thus far has been a work with this organization where we're defining for our professional staff what is social emotional learning, pointing out the things that they have been doing, that they've been engaged with, and where we as a district support that work. We aligned ourselves with definitions that have come from CASEL, and that the notion of understanding social emotional learning begins with us as adults. So again, very much in our infancy, we participated in a district audit with that organization we were involved in, added that data to the data we had from our school improvement process. We began just the setting of the stage and planting the seeds with our administrative and professional staff in our professional staff development. With that organization, we started what we call the SEL Champions Group, so that they could have more intense professional learning across a year, which was last year, a very interesting year in education to begin with. And with that process, as our professional staff were learning, our administrators were learning, and we had parallel sessions where our students, paraprofessionals, and parents could also be learning. So for us right now, we do not yet have a vision statement for SEL in our district. That's something that we know we need to do this year. So we're engaged in that work this year, and our system design and how as an organization we will carry this work forward using the data that we have and what that means for our organizational growth. So you can see we are in our infancy, but again, I am just tremendously excited to be part of this group and learn from all of you along the way.
Well, thank you, Stacy. And in fact, I think one of the, we're thrilled that you were part of this, and many districts are exactly where you are. And so we're all learning together. And in fact, the slides that have been shared and the vision statements will all be in the Padlet. People can access them. And so you can look for other visions and statements and see how that may work for your district and how you might revise it. At this point, let me introduce Lisa Winston, who's Deputy Superintendent in Huntington Beach City, Huntington Beach, California, to share a little bit about what Huntington Beach is doing. Lisa?
Thank you. Well, actually, I am superintendent of Huntington Beach City School District. I just started in January of this year. So I can relate to what Stacy mentioned. We don't yet have a vision statement either. So we're really in the beginning stages. And so we serve about 5,400 students in preschool through 8th grade in 8 schools. And since I've come on board in January, we've had a lot of conversations with stakeholders, and a systematic SEL system has really emerged as a priority in the district. So we do have support, which is great, from our board and many of our stakeholders, parents, teachers, community members for SEL implementation. So our visual on our slide, as you can see, or what you will see, is that we're at the very beginning stages of planning and implementation of a systematic SEL program. And we're in the process of really building that foundational support and planning. We have pieces in isolation, but we want to make sure that we're equitably serving all students' social emotional needs and developing their skills. So in the last 6 months, it's really been about, we've done a lot of reorganization at our district level, reorganizing our support positions. So I'm now confident that we have the right people in the right seats to lead and implement this work. And we're also going to be starting a strategic planning process and a refresh of our district mission, vision, and learner profile. And I fully anticipate that we will integrate SEL development into this process, and it will be one of our strategic plan goals for the coming next few years. So our next steps are really to develop and share that vision, developing an organizational structure to support the work, and engaging in the development of a plan that includes resource alignment. So we're really looking forward to learning more from districts that are further along in their process of SEL implementation and the things that were successes for them and things that we might learn from them. So we're very grateful to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you had moved into the superintendency, but congratulations on that. Or, yeah, you know, it's a challenging position. So I hope all goes well. Good. The next person will be Lana Snyder, who is joining us as a district behavior strategist from Marshalltown School District in Iowa. Lana?
Welcome. Thank you. So our Marshalltown vision statement is the SEL is to actively promote social and emotional learning by providing high quality teaching and learning experiences on social emotional development. And our district has been focused on SEL for the past 7 years now. And our district's strategic plan focuses on SEL due to the background and needs of our students and families. Social and emotional learning is a part of everyday learning and life. And our SEL steering committee team has people from different buildings, administrators, leaders, teacher leaders, and counselors. Our district has also partnered with Central Rivers AEA in our SEL work. We have re-amplified our SEL due to having tornadoes that have hit Marshalltown, the pandemic, and most recently the derecho that occurred last August. So we are focusing on realignment of PBIS, collaborative problem solving, the mental health pieces, capturing kids' hearts, responsive classrooms, and we're working on the daily core instruction of the social emotional learning. Our district has resource specialists in all of our school buildings and 2 district-wide behavior strategists. Our district also provides mental health therapeutic classrooms with 4 Oaks, and our district collaborates with center associates and other mental health providers in our schools. So we are still focusing on now teaching students, but also focusing with staff on the daily core, and then really honing in on the self-awareness, self-management, all the CASEL competencies, and focusing in on how do we build it together.
Thank you, Lana, and thanks for joining us. And Marshalltown's work is very exciting as well. And our last person is Rick Duggan is the Executive Director for Exceptional Education and Student Support Services from Collier County, Florida. We've gone around the country and now we're back in Florida. So, Rick.
Thanks, Shelley. Good morning, everyone. Collier is a very unique district in that, we have about 48,000 students and a very large landmass county, 2,300 square miles, about the size of Delaware. And we have many of our community are very, very wealthy, but we also have many students that are impoverished as well. So everything that we do is through an equity lens and making sure that it can be replicated throughout the district with fidelity. Our community hasn't always seen SEL as a primary need among students, but I think that has changed as we've been very intentional in the way that we've approached it over the last 5 to 7 years in our strategic planning, with 5 CASEL-aligned strategies that have been embedded over the past 5 years. With that said, we've also leverage those strategies to, gain input from students and staff around our panorama student voice. And what we've come to find out is that, we really need to focus on the relationships that happen in school buildings. And so sense of belonging is a strong belief of that students, when they come to school, that they have at least one trusted adult that they can share and speak with. And our work is around college, career, and life readiness. And so self-management, self-efficacy, and responsible decision-making have been paramount in that work. Next slide. So what we've been doing over the course of the last school year is, as we've become more intentional in our approach, there have been different key moments in Collier's history. So going back to Hurricane Irma, where we were out of school for just about a month. We're also in proximity to Parkland, Florida, and had some students transfer in from Parkland. And then obviously with COVID-19, although we're at 92% back to school on campus now, we wanted to take the next step forward. And so we've gotten lots of feedback from principal work group and other stakeholders around Connect for Success, which is a dedicated time twice per week in grades K through 12, really to work on this focus on sense of belonging, self-management, self-efficacy, and responsible decision-making. And so that work group has really informed what those lessons will look like. And on the next slide, I'll kind of dig deeper into that. So as you can see, we've actually appointed an assistant director of teaching and learning kind of around this program, which will be Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can see the times there. We're doing it for a longer duration during the middle school and high school times. And this great thing about this is at the secondary level, what we're really trying to do is create cohorts of students that will be with the same teacher year over year. That's not always going to be possible, as we have students that are maybe transient or move from school to school, but we really think that that's part of the way of creating those relationships and creating opportunities to have meaningful discussions during those advisory periods. So that's going to be based around Leader and Me. So we've just completed the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We've long been a Leader in Me district in several of our schools. And so we're sort of expanding on that. And then over the summer here, we've really developed all of the lessons, the calendar for the lessons. They're put into our learning management system, which is Canvas. So all of the resources are there for the teachers, and to ensure that, the way that we see it in a class that's maybe a few miles from the beach is the same way that we see it in one of our more rural areas, that the implementation is purposeful, it's aligned, and systemic. And so we're really excited about this upcoming year to take our next step forward.
Rick, thank you. And terrific work that's being done in Collier County, and very much appreciate you being part of this and part of the team. For all of you, I want to thank the 6 of you having the courage to share your insights, share your beginnings as well. We wanted to include some who have just started, because we felt that there's so many that are just at the beginning stages, and very much appreciate all of the work. And I hope that for those who are attending, I hope that you're inspired by the visions that you've heard, the commitment that you've seen, and among the 6 people who are here. They will be joining the rest of the sessions in the communities of practice, and you can talk with them and hopefully continue the exchange and dialogue. As Dawn was saying at the beginning, we have created some sessions like the communities of practice where dialogue can take place and sharing can take place, and hopefully we've structured those in ways that will be helpful to you. And again, if you go back to the Padlet, you'll see that all of the slides that you were just shown are in the Padlet. You're welcome to download them and use them as a thinking document for your own district. So let me thank Lisa, Angeline, Rick, Lisa, Stacy, Lana. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to move us into the next piece of our work, which but before we introduce Linda Darling-Hammond, I want to introduce another of our partners, and that's Lightspeed. Lightspeed has been an essential partner through the whole beginning of our effort. And I want to show you a little clip, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about them and their work. So thank you, and we'll move to the video from Lightspeed.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Social Emotional Learning cohort with AASA. My name's Dan Carter. I'm the Director of School Partnerships for Lightspeed Technologies. Appreciate all of you being here. The power of this cohort really is the ability for all of you to get together and share those great things that you're doing and help those who can learn from those wonderful things that are happening in classrooms all across the country. We're proud to be a sponsor and contributor to this organization. Of course, student engagement is very close to our heart. Our focus at Lightspeed is instructional audio and really establishing that relationship between the teacher and the student, because that's really where the magic happens. We have a short video for you that tells you a little bit about Lightspeed Technologies. And again, thank you so much for working hard each and every day, improving the educational experience for kids. We appreciate you so much. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the cohort.
In most classrooms, students spend a significant part of their day listening to teachers and other students. In fact, 75% of learning in elementary schools occur through listening activities. Yet 30% of children in K through 3 have some form of mild hearing loss. So hearing clearly in the classroom can be a real challenge. At Lightspeed, we create access to listening and learning between teachers and students. We make audio technology that effectively enhances listening, creating equitable, engaging, and collaborative learning environments. Our whole group classroom audio systems provide a high level of speech intelligibility to evenly distribute the teacher's natural voice throughout the classroom, enabling students to hear every word. With our small group instructional audio, educators can listen into authentic student conversations to gain active insights, assess student learning, and increase student engagement. We understand the impact that audio can have in changing classroom environments. Learn more about how our products transform classroom dynamics at lightspeed-tech.com.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank Lightspeed. I do want to make a couple of comments. I just retired as a superintendent. I was a superintendent for 28 years in 4 different districts. And in the last 2 districts, we actually included and equipped our classrooms with Lightspeed equipment. And I have to say that it dramatically changed the engagement of students and the sense that teachers did not have to shout, didn't have to use their voice in the same way. And it's a product that I felt really contributed to the inclusive nature of our work. And so I'm pleased that they're a supporter. We realized we had a little bit of technical difficulties, and one of our presenters, our presenter from Mansfield Independent School District in Texas, and that's Mendy Gregory, I'm sorry, and Kimberly Cantu, who's superintendent, we are here and can share their work as well. So maybe Seth, can you put up their slide, or just welcome Mendy and Kimberly. Thank you for joining us.
And actually, Dr. Cantu had multiple meetings today. So this is Carrie Aquino, and she and I work, I just put the Texas spin on it. Aquino is how you say that. She and I work in the SEL department. We are the SEL department. So thank you guys. We had the wrong time or what have you. You just had this, there we go. Okay, so I came into this position back in late September, beginning of October. And so we had to kind of shift gears, obviously because of where we were with school. And so we did a board presentation kind of at the end of the fall before Christmas break. And we had to look at kind of our timeline. And again, like I said, we had to shift gears. We did a survey in the fall to just see where our students were and where our teachers were. And we had to kind of tread a little lightly because the survey with the teachers, obviously they were stressed, they were overwhelmed. But they ran the gamut of, yes, we need more training, or yes, we would like to have training on our campuses. No, don't ask me to do anything else. Yes, we would like to attend after school trainings on things. And then again, no, don't ask me to do any of that. Yes, I want SEL lessons. No, don't ask me to do any of that. And so we kind of just did a soft roll of putting out some SEL lessons, offering some after school trainings, offering some parent trainings after school. And so that was kind of what we did in the spring. This summer, what we decided, our district writes our own academic curriculum. And I thought, what better way to start our SEL curriculum than have our teachers who are masters, some of them that already do some of the SEL things in their classrooms, why not have them write our curriculum? So we had a group of teachers from all grade levels, and they've been writing our curriculum this summer, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And we've just taken from several different resources. Many of them, they've made up their own activities and lessons and linked some videos and things like that. So that's kind of where we are. Our rollout for the fall is that every campus, grades K through 12, will do SEL lessons 2 to 3 days a week. And so we have lessons built based on all the core competencies. If you will go to the next slide, I'll kind of talk about that. So this is our Lead with Heart initiative. That is what we call our SEL program in Mansfield ISD. And so every 6 weeks, we focus on a core competency, and you'll see the core competencies right there. And then that heart symbol is our SEL symbol. So when anyone sees that heart symbol, that is from the SEL department. That means that we're leading with heart. We are investing a lot of training in our leaders, our principals, our assistant principals, our coaches, because if you think about the greatest group of teachers that can influence the largest number of students on a middle school and high school campus, that's our coaches, especially in Texas. And then the same with our fine arts department. So our fine arts department, we are pouring into them because we all know that SEL starts with the leadership and that relational capacity. If you'll go on to the next slide. So our main focus in Mansfield ISD is building that relational capacity. We are at that tier 1 relational practices. And so that's what we are teaching our teachers. Tier 1 relational practices in your classroom that's good for all students. And then the restorative practices is kind of on the back end. They're students, they're kids, they're gonna mess up. So when they mess up, what is that plan? What are we gonna do to restore that relationship and to get them back into either the classroom if they were suspended or what have you? So what's our plan to restore that relationship? Because again, we know they're kids, but we have that relational capacity with them to build that plan to work them back in. And I think there's one more slide, or that might be it. And again, every time we train our teachers, our district, we are at the tier 1 relational practices stage, meaning we are building relational capacity from student to student, student to teacher, teacher to teacher, our staffs, our families, because we know the number one thing that's going to move the needle, especially bringing students back to school, is having that trust and that relational capacity among our community, with our teachers, and with our students. So that's really it.
Well, Mandy, thank you very much. And Carrie, thank you. And thank you for your work. And I'm glad we were able to share your efforts. And again, as I've said before, these slides from Mansfield are in the Padlet. You can download them so you get another sense of the vision and the work of another district. So I hope that all of this has been helpful to you, as you've seen a number of different approaches, a number of different vision statements, and I hope that each one of those can contribute to your own thinking